Alright, for today's video review, we're going to finish off our look at this Transformers Legacy United Doom and Destruction 2-pack. Last time we took a look at Ruckus, and this time we are going to be taking a look at Decepticon Bludgeon. So yeah, I'll just take Ruckus and move him off to the side for now, and just focus on Bludgeon, who, again, is using another version of the mold that was already used for Bludgeon in Legacy Evolution, that was also used for two different versions of Tarn. So I now have 4 of this mold, and 2 of them are Tarn and 2 of them are Bludgeon, which is kind of silly, but it is a very good mold. It was one of the best figures of that year, and yeah, still does not disappoint, even though I don't necessarily feel like I needed this guy just because I, again, already had another version of this mold as Bludgeon, but it's still a fun figure. This one is much more based on like one of his comic book designs, which is itself based on a little bit more of like the color scheme of his original inner robot from his original Pretender toy, rather than these sort of like outer samurai shell. So a lot more of the greens kind of ditching the oranges. He's got like this, yellow here. He doesn't have any of the red. So, pretty substantially different than the other version of Bludgeon we got recently. But yeah, in terms of accessories, obviously he comes with, the same turret accessory that's part of the alt mode, which just tabs onto the top there and can come apart into those 3 parts. And he comes with a sword as well, which is painted in a nice gunmetal color here. I find that it's got, mine has like a piece from the sprue still on it that they just painted over. That's probably not supposed to be there, but whatever. In terms of storage, I mean, you do have the same options as before. You can just peg it onto the top or peg it onto the sides like this or over here. I tend to prefer pegging it on like this, although, no matter how you slice it, it is just a sword stuck onto the side of a tank, but at least it's a Cybertronian tank, so it looks a little bit more, normal than if it was like an Earth vehicle, but still not my favorite weapon storage, but that works well enough. But yeah, obviously, same functionalities before. The turret can rotate, still no wheels on the bottom. He's just got these little nubs that really look like there was maybe originally intended to be wheels in the design that got, cut. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with Kingdom Sideswept, so you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe, and here he is with the Legacy Evolution version of Bludgeon. So you can see not much different there. The only new sculpted bits are the robot mode head and then also the robot mode chest. I've also taken off the guns on mine, which again you can do on him as well. I just tend to think of these guns as being like much more of like a Tarn detail. So personally on both of these guys I decided to take these off, but I'll leave them on for the sake of the video there. They just kind of clip on there. They're not too hard to take on and off. But yeah, in terms of transformation, obviously it's just the same as every other version of this mold. We just take off the sword here, take off the turret, then we want to take the arms. They will untab from the thighs and from the bottom of the feet, and then you kind of twist them around like that, and then take this little faux tread panel, which still really irritates me, but whatever. And then take this whole tread section and then fold it over like that, and then close up the little fake panel there. Straighten out the arm, move this panel to the other side, and flip around the hand there. Then just do that on both sides. Again, I'm getting a little sick of it just because I've had, 4 versions of this mold, but this is a really nice figure with a really good transformation, so I can't complain too much. Then you want to take the legs here and just straighten them out and then click the knee joints into place there. Then separate the legs and then just fold down the feet. Then we can take this panel, just kind of fold it up like that, flip it around, take these guns and just fold them up so they sit at an angle up here like that, and then you want to sort of simultaneously move these treads around and then also move this panel of the chest around so that they kind of stay lined up. And then once you have those kind of clicked into place, you can compress them and then tab the chest into place and then flip the head around and then take this panel and it will just double hinge up and these 2 tabs will go into the back of the treads there, in theory. I don't know why it's fighting me there. Not compressed enough. There we go. And there we have Decepticon Bludgeon in his robot mode. And yeah, I think he looks pretty good. Definitely a lot of design cues that are quite different from the Legacy evolution version, even though he is still the same character. But again, just, you know, removing those oranges and reds really does a lot to differentiate him. He's got this nice new head sculpt that is, again, based on that one comic design where he's got like the, you know, removed lower faceplate. So he just has like all the wires there, which I think is pretty cool looking. Obviously, to finish off the look here, we can take his turret. Yeah, I mean, you can, you know, like attach this to his arm like you did with Tarn and, you know, rotate that panel around so however you need it to. But again, with Bludgeon, I tend to prefer to just peg this onto the back like that so it sits up over the top. And with that there, I don't really think he needs the little gun. So personally, I just take these off, but you can also just fold them down if you want to. And then the sword here, obviously, he can hold in his hand and he looks pretty good holding it there. And if you want to store it, you can just peg it onto the hole in the back here. Again, I do still kind of wish that he had like, you know, a bit of resculpting on the hip or something, so you could actually like holster the sword there. I think that that would be pretty cool, but that still works fairly well. And yeah, you know, just a really good looking figure in terms of what's resculpted on him. Again, he's got the new head sculpt. He also has a new chest piece from every other version of this mold that he has, that every other version of this mold. And then he also has a new like waist piece as well for whatever reason. But yeah, in terms of articulation, it has on a ball joint, so you can rotate it around like that, and then you get a little bit of up and down just from the you know, the transformation joint there. The shoulders can rotate around like that and hinge out to the side. Again, you know, he's got the shoulders that, you know, have the swivel at the arm and then the hinge at the body rather than the proper way, which is the other way around, which are a little bit annoying to work with. But he's got this transformation joint, which I do find to be pretty helpful for like getting his arm in front of him. He's got a bicep swivel, a little over 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, a wrist joint, opening fingers, which is nice, a waist cut, hips can go forward and back and out to the side. Again, same way that the hips function on all the other versions of this toy. Thigh swivel. It's got the single jointed knee, which goes about that far. And then if you unclick that transformation joint, you can get a full knee bend, and that still looks pretty good in my opinion. And then his feet can tilt forward and back and out to the side. So again, yeah, just really good articulation on this guy. You know, it's going to sound like I'm, you know, broken record here, but really just like every other version of this mold, he's pretty good aside from the way that the shoulders function, which leaves a little bit something to be desired, but otherwise he's a pretty decent figure in terms of articulation. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Sideswipe. Here he is again with Legacy Evolution Bludgeon, just so you can see how different they look there. You can see that the waist piece is a little bit longer. He's got the new chest piece and then the new head there. You know, again, it's got some similar sculpting to this version, but they are a bit different there. His horns are a bit shorter, and then obviously the face is quite different, but they both look good as two different versions of Bludgeon here. And then last but not least, here he is again with his packmate Ruckus. And yeah, it's a pretty good set overall, especially if you don't have like a version of Bludgeon and you just want this to be your version of Bludgeon. Like, he's a great figure. It's just not one that I necessarily needed just because I already have this guy who's also a very good figure and is my preferred look for Bludgeon. But I'm just putting him on my shelf as like an alternate universe version of Bludgeon, which again, I like to have him. I wouldn't have necessarily bought him if I wasn't, you know, being forced to, but you know, that's an old conversation with, well, not being forced to, you know what I mean? If I wanted Ruckus, I had to get him as well. But yeah, it's like no one's forcing me to do anything. But yeah, you know, it's an old conversation with putting one figure that you want in a pack with another figure that you don't want, so you have to pay extra. But you know, they're both still good figures at the end of the day. And yeah, that pretty much does it for this set. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Generations Doom and Destruction Decepticon Bludgeon.